Pine Hollow. A name that echoed through the ages, whispered in hushed tones around campfires and in the safety of warm homes. Just the name sent shivers down your spine, a chill that crept up from the base of your neck and settled deep in your bones. The old cabin stood alone, nestled deep within the dark woods, a relic of a time long forgotten. Its presence was a stark reminder of the past, a past that refused to be buried. Twisted branches clawed at its rotting timbers, as if the forest itself sought to reclaim the structure, to erase its existence from memory. Windows, like vacant eyes, stared out blindly into the night, offering no solace, no hint of the secrets they held within. Locals whispered of a family lost, a curse upon the land. They spoke of a tragedy that befell the inhabitants, a darkness that consumed their lives and left only shadows behind. They said the woods held their tormented souls, trapped between worlds, unable to find peace. Ghostly figures were said to wander the forest, their mournful cries echoing through the trees. No one dared to go near Pine Hollow, especially not at night. The forest path was avoided, a place where even the bravest souls hesitated to tread. Foolish whispers spoke of flickering lights, chilling cries echoing through the trees. Some claimed to have seen the cabin's lights flicker on and off, as if the spirits within were trying to communicate. But whispers were all they were, just silly stories to scare kids. Or were they? The line between myth and reality blurred in Pine Hollow, leaving one to wonder if the tales were merely figments of imagination or echoes of a haunting truth. Mark, Jen, Chris, and Sarah. City kids through and through. They scoffed at the local legends, called them silly superstitions. To prove their bravery, they dared to spend a night in the cabin.
It'll be fun. We'll have a campfire, tell stories. What could go wrong?
They arrived at dusk, the woods already casting long, eerie shadows. The air grew heavy, filled with an unsettling silence. The cabin loomed before them, more menacing in the fading light. Their laughter died in their throats. Inside, the air hung thick with dust and the stench of decay. The house had been abandoned for years, left to the mercy of time and the elements. Each step they took stirred up clouds of dust, making it hard to breathe. The walls, once vibrant with life, now stood as silent witnesses to the passage of time, their surfaces marred by cracks and peeling paint. Cobwebs draped across the room like macabre decorations, hanging from the ceiling and stretching across the corners. The furniture, covered in a thick layer of dust, seemed frozen in time, as if waiting for the return of its long-gone occupants. The room was a snapshot of a forgotten era, a place where memories lingered in the shadows. As darkness fell, shadows danced in the flickering light of their flashlights. The beams of light cut through the darkness, revealing glimpses of the room's eerie contents. Every movement seemed to bring the shadows to life, creating an unsettling sense of being watched. The air was thick with tension, each creak and groan of the old house amplifying their unease. Strange symbols, scratched into the walls, twisted and turned in the shifting light. These markings, ancient and mysterious, seemed to tell a story of their own. They were a language long forgotten, a message from the past that hinted at dark rituals and hidden secrets. The symbols added to the sense of foreboding, making the explorers question what had transpired within these walls.
"Who's there?" The whisper echoed in the darkness, a question born of fear and curiosity. The silence that followed was deafening, amplifying the sense of isolation and vulnerability. It was as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen.
A floorboard creaked upstairs. The sound was sharp and sudden, breaking the oppressive silence. It was a reminder that they were not alone, that something or someone was moving within the house. The creak of the floorboard sent a chill down their spines, making them question whether they should continue their exploration. Jen jumped, her heart pounding in her chest. The unexpected noise had startled her, and she struggled to calm her racing heart. She glanced around nervously, her eyes wide with fear. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every sound a potential danger. The atmosphere was thick with dread, making it hard to think clearly. Chris called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. Only silence answered him. The emptiness of the house seemed to swallow his words, leaving him feeling more alone than ever. He strained to hear any response, but there was nothing. The silence was oppressive, a heavy blanket that smothered any hope of finding answers. But the silence wasn't empty. It was filled with an unseen energy, a presence that was almost tangible. It was as if the house itself was alive, watching and waiting. The silence hummed with a hidden power, a force that seemed to pulse through the very walls. It was a silence that spoke volumes, telling a story of its own. It hummed with an unseen energy, a presence that sent shivers down their spines. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming, making it hard to focus on anything else. Every instinct told them to leave, to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the house. But something held them there, a morbid curiosity that compelled them to uncover the secrets hidden within the shadows and whispers. The campfire crackled, casting dancing shadows on the faces of the four friends. The flames flickered and swayed, creating an almost hypnotic effect that momentarily distracted them from the encroaching darkness. The night was still, save for the occasional pop and hiss of the burning wood. The firelight painted their faces in warm hues, but the shadows it cast were long and eerie, stretching out into the unknown. But the warmth did little to chase away the growing chill in the air. A mist had begun to settle, weaving through the trees and curling around their feet like ghostly tendrils. The temperature seemed to drop with each passing minute, and the friends pulled their jackets tighter around themselves, shivering not just from the cold, but from an unspoken fear that seemed to seep into their bones. Stories and jokes died on their lips, replaced by uneasy silence. They had started the evening with laughter and tales of past adventures, but now the words seemed to stick in their throats. The silence was heavy, almost tangible, pressing down on them and amplifying every small sound. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside the windows, sent their hearts racing. The cabin, which had seemed so cozy and inviting in the daylight, now felt like a trap. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the sound of rustling leaves and distant, unidentifiable noises. Each creak and groan of the old wood seemed to echo with a sinister intent, making them jump at shadows.
Maybe we should leave. This place. It's creepy. The suggestion hung in the air, met with a mixture of relief and hesitation. They all felt it, the oppressive atmosphere that seemed to grow thicker with each passing moment. But leaving meant braving the dark woods, and who knew what lurked out there?
The others tried to laugh it off, but their smiles were strained. They exchanged nervous glances, each one hoping someone else would make the decision for them. The laughter was hollow, a poor attempt to mask the fear that was steadily growing. They could feel it, a presence just beyond the reach of the firelight, watching, waiting. Even Mark, the bravest of them all, couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Very wrong. He had always been the one to lead the way, to face danger head-on, but tonight was different. There was a weight in the air, a sense of impending doom that he couldn't ignore. His instincts screamed at him to get out, to run, but he didn't want to scare the others. He forced a smile, but his eyes betrayed him, reflecting the fear he felt deep inside. The scratching started at midnight, a slow, deliberate rasping coming from beneath the floorboards. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It seemed to be coming from right under their feet.
What is that?
Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with terror. They huddled closer, their faces pale in the dim light. Mark grabbed a poker from beside the fireplace, his knuckles white as he gripped it tightly.
I'm going to check it out,
he said, his voice shaking slightly. Mark knelt down, pressing his ear to the cold wooden floor. The scratching grew louder, more insistent. He held his breath, listening intently. Then, with a sudden crash, the floorboards gave way beneath him. He vanished into the darkness below.
Mark, are you all right?
Jen screamed, scrambling to the edge of the gaping hole. Only silence answered her. A cold draft wafted up from the darkness, carrying with it the stench of damp earth and something else, something foul and ancient.
Jen grabbed a flashlight and shone it into the hole.
The beam illuminated a set of rickety wooden stairs leading down into the darkness. And then she saw it. A face, pale and gaunt, with eyes that glowed an unnatural yellow in the darkness. It stared up at her, a chilling grin spreading across its lips.
Jen screamed, scrambling back from the edge. The flashlight tumbled from her grasp, plunging them into darkness. "Run!" she shrieked.
They didn't need telling twice. Stumbling over each other in their panic, they scrambled to their feet and raced towards the door. Behind them, the scratching grew louder, closer. Something was coming. The woods were a labyrinth of twisted branches and gnarled roots. Thorns tore at their clothes, branches whipped their faces. But they didn't dare slow down, not with that sound echoing behind them. The sound of something evil, hungry, and relentless. They burst out of the tree line, gasping for breath, their clothes torn, their faces streaked with sweat and fear. The storm broke, rain lashing down on them as if the very heavens were weeping. But through the howling wind, they could still hear it, a faint scratching sound following them, never giving up. They never spoke of that night again. But the memory lingered, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of their world, the darkness that whispered on the wind. The cabin at Pine Hollow still stands, a decaying monument to fear itself. Locals whisper of the city kids who dared to spend the night, of the one who disappeared without a trace. They say the scratching can still be heard at night, a chilling reminder of the evil that lurks within. And the legend of Pine Hollow grows darker still, a chilling tale whispered around campfires, a warning to those foolish enough to tempt fate in the heart of the woods. For some places, some secrets are best left undisturbed.